This is STORYHIVE on location in Nanaimo with Beats, Eats, and
Amore.
We're broadcasting live from the unceded ancestral lands of the Nanaimo First Nations. Utmost love, respects to the original stewards and protectors of these lands and these waters. I am the host of this show. My name is Kazi, and today my special guest, y'all, it smells good up in here with that pizza. I have the one and only Raymond Knight, who is a filmmaker, director, cinematographer, painter, and musician, driven by a lifelong passion for storytelling through sound and image. Raised in Powell River, BC, he began as an acrylic and oil painter before diving into music, writing, recording, and performing, eventually blending these talents into filmmaking. With 100+ music videos, short films, a feature, and global adventure shows, his work is dynamic and human. Now based on Vancouver Island, he runs Verra Creative, crafting bold, heartfelt stories across art, music, and film. Y'all give it up. Yes, Raymond, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me, and thanks for
Yes.
coming to our beautiful space. And like that ChatGPT bio was pretty good, eh? That was not bad.
And then it just helped condense it a little bit
I know.
more, which is
Yeah.
great. I was like, tighten this up.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah. All right, so we got some pizza here. I did. I made the dough 48 hours ago.
my
Homemade
gosh.
mozzarella, homemade sauce from tomatoes from my garden, basil. So why don't you finish this up with some basil and some Parmesan here, and I'll chop it
Yum.
up, just rip it up and
So
put whatever you want
even
on
with
it.
these little tiny, cute little tomatoes, I just pop them in there?
Nah, leave the tomatoes. I was
Okay.
gonna do something special with tomatoes, but they're not so special. Yeah, just rip up
Okay.
a bunch of basil there. There you go, and just.
When did this
Do it
love
loose
for
and-
pizza start in your life?
So when I was like 10 years old, I really fell in love with cooking because my mom was a gardener, and I used to bake focaccia bread all the time and pick stuff from the garden. And she'd come home and there'd be like 10 focaccia loaves, baked, and because I was just trying to get it right. And so, yeah, I've always loved ingredients, fishing, growing food. I think good ingredients are the key to great art. So I think
Agreed.
that food really teaches you that on like a super basic level. So
It's the most rewarding art
I
form
think
that I
so.
think exists,
Yeah.
truthfully.
Yeah.
And it's also low-key, high-key. One of the main reasons why the show is Beats, Eats, and More is because I literally want an excuse to eat on the show.
Perfect. Well, we don't need any excuses to eat, so.
OMG.
Yeah.
So wait, is this prosciutto? What do we got on
Yeah,
top?
so it's like a prosciutto. It's from a local farm. So anything that I didn't make here is actually local. So yeah, I think source it. We go to the farmer's market, source out as many amazing ingredients as we can. I'm gonna take this big juicy piece right there.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
thank you so much
of
for
course.
making pizza for us. Like,
Well, cheers.
cheers.
Yeah, of course.
Let's take our first bite.
Oh yeah,
Dun,
that's
dun,
good.
dun, dun, dun. First bite. Mmm.
Oh yeah. Just gets better.
Perfectly
time.
cooked dough. It's soft with a bit of that crisp and that crunch. Mm-hmm. The sauce. It's saucing. I'd love to start with asking you, like for us to understand the creative who sits in front of us right now, what do we need to know about who you were as a youth, as a young person? Like how did creativity really become part of your upbringing and your life?
Well, it's like, I got to thank my parents and my mother, right? Like she was instrumental into giving me the tools I needed to be creative. She saw that I just wanted to draw all the time. Like from the time, I think I have drawings from when I was like 2, right? So like, and 1 even. So it's just like she would just throw a pad of paper in front of me with everything I wanted, and she said, and that whole thing would be filled, like by the end of the day sometimes, and it would just keep going. And so she got me into painting, or I was really interested and started painting, and then she's like, okay, well, every time that I had a new thing I wanted to learn, as an artist, like, oh, I want to do that, oh, I want to do that, I want to do that. She's like, okay, do it for a while, show me you're dedicated, then I'll hook you up with somebody who can teach you how to do that, and then I'll buy you the supplies, right? So that went on when I wanted. Yeah, I'd been a painter my whole life. I was doing commissions and portraits like in high school. Like I basically had like a side job doing that, and got really heavy into music, and I like the social aspect of music more than art, you know? As just, I think even when you're young, you kind of feel the weight of like depression and being like, oh, okay, like if I sit alone in a dark room with myself for too long, you know, like it's not the best thing to do for a hobby and a living and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I just had so much fun playing music with people. I was like, wow, this is an amazing experience. This is what I want. This is my experience I want with life, right?
What were you playing and instruments-wise?
I started off on piano because I really wanted to like understand music, and then I was
that is the bass.
yeah, you got everything's laid out, you know, and then I got into guitar and saxophone and singing, and then eventually took the jazz music program here, to everybody's surprise, because they were like, well, aren't you going to go to art school? Like, you know, you're this award-winning already, you know, artist coming out of high school. And I was like, no, like I want to learn music. Like I just was so passionate about that, right? So met a lot of great musicians there, and took digital media programs, started doing a bunch of music videos, and then I pretty much had like 3 teachers come to me and being like, you should just quit because like you're an artist, right? Like all the people here are going to become teachers, right? And they're like, if you want to become a teacher later on in life, it's like you can do that. Like it's not that hard to come, you know, get the qualifications you need to do, like especially if you have like the career behind you. So go paint, go make films, you know. And I did this horror short film, and I made a bunch of the kids in our class have nightmares like afterwards, and they were all messaging me afterwards, like, why did you do that or whatever. The teacher's like, you have to go do this for a living. Like the kids are quivering in their seats, right?
That's so funny. So this was in music school when you were making these music videos?
Yeah, because I took, you know, obviously as electives, I was like, well, I'm going to take art, you know, visual arts, because obviously I'm just going to kill that. And then and then I ended up kind of in split programs, right? And then digital media was like, you know, another elective, and then so it all kind of came together. And I was recording albums and doing lots of music writing at that time, so my digital technical like editing skills were getting good, and I was like, oh, video's pretty similar. And you know, DSLR cameras came out where you know, you could get like a Canon 5D, and they were using these in feature films at that time. Like I remember Black Swan came out and they used that and shot on the New York subway in public, right? So that was like, hey, well, like I'm buying that camera and I'm gonna go make films. And I was like, hey, bye, you know, quit school, moved with a bunch of artists, you know, where we had crazy parties in the basement with bands like all night long, you know, like, and the whole house is shaking, and
this is here.
Yeah, this is actually just right over on the other road there. So huge, really amazing arts and music scene here. Played a lot of shows and just did video production like as much as I could for, you know, I guess probably 6 or 7 years, and then got like really serious, you know, in my early 30s. And then about a year ago I merged, started a new company with my business partner Sean, who's also like my creative partner, and he's like super talented. And we were like, okay, like we want to do productions, we want to produce our own shows, like we're ready to take that step out of just being a couple of guys with a camera, right? And so built the studio, hired some editors, just been full on, just going for it. The last couple of years have been a bit crazy, but it's so worth it. And we have people like Ashley is actually the building owner. So she's, they helped us, they allowed us to be here for a long time before, you know, we could afford it, and it's just a big community, right? So,
That's amazing. And then also a really interesting trajectory that like, I love that your teachers could see. It's so rare that like teachers could really see something and then just call it out and be like, dude, here's his path. Like it's so obvious, you know, you have a knack and a skill and a tenacity for this, and that it's led you here. Like, did that feel like a natural progression, or was there maybe an inciting moment or incident for you where you're like, actually, I really want to go like full tilt into this?
I mean, we all have dreams of like making great pieces of art, right? Like I just want to do this thing that's gonna, you know, change people's lives, right? That's just like the ultimate.
What do they call that? There's a
goal.
term for that when it's your life's masterpiece.
Yeah.
What do they call that?
Opus.
Yeah, your opus,
Right.
your magnus
Yeah.
opus or something.
I hope that never comes because that means that's the end, But like, that's like, but at the same time, yeah, I just thought that like I made a feature film, was doing lots of short films, and like I love sci-fi. I've always like loved how that genre can push people to think differently. It's not just like aliens and monsters. It's like the future presents a lot of like moral questions, and things that like we should be thinking about, right? And now, we're at that point in technology where we do have to be asking those questions. It's not just sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
So
so crazy every time I think about that.
yeah,
dude.
I learned a lot from those sci-fis and been like, well, we might have to be careful a little bit, or maybe, if we're gonna think forward, I think art is a great way to, I guess it's like modern philosophy, right? Philosophers would think to the future and how things are going to be, or if if we change society in certain ways, and like how we could evolve, right? And
What are our ethics around that,
yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
and there's so many people like holding on so hard to the past right now that that it's like the growth, and then the growth is happening so quick that it's just shooting past everyone, right? So anyway, so that my point is that like I had this like really, something to say, right? Like all the time. And I think at a certain point it gets really exhausting, and as an artist it's like do I just need a therapist, So like
Yes, the
yeah,
answer is yes,
exactly.
we all do.
So I did, right? And
Yeah.
so I got a therapist, talked to counselors, and really kind of narrowed down like what I was feeling. And maybe I really liked art because I felt like I wanted more connection when I was a kid, and that was a way for me to escape. And so like that was something I had to deal with, right? Like, so all this like trying to prove myself, essentially like, Mom put my picture on the fridge, kind of mentality, which was driving me, was just like, it wasn't helping me get anywhere. And so like I really switched, and I said, well, I want to be a service provider. I don't want to be an artist. I want to help people tell their stories, because I have a skill. I can see people. I see their story in a way that they don't, right? So now I just thought like, this is like my life's purpose, is to actually help people have and find their voice, and it's not my voice, right?
Yeah.
So I think that when I started doing documentary work and really just being around people and just absorbing other people's lives and showing it back to them, or showing other people, and just seeing like, oh my God, like we needed that, or like nobody, like it's just that intimate perspective, that you only get from just hanging out with somebody. And if you can capture that and really show people, it's super powerful. So I just kind of like changed. I was like, no, like my purpose is to be in service to people and their stories. And that one idea shifted how, it got me out of depression, because I was like, well, I don't want to have something to say, or like, sure, like if you want to listen, great, but that's not my purpose, right? That's purpose is community and people, and bringing people together, and not being the solo artist just painting, in a dark corner, right?
Yeah.
And
Feeling
so,
all
yeah.
your feelings.
Yeah, which is important,
yeah.
right? But I've felt a lot of feelings, and I'm ready to feel different feelings, right? So
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo, man, you got me emotional off the bat.
Another piece of pizza.
Yeah, I really relate to that, and I want to guess we're around the same age. Like, I'm 37 now.
Yeah, 38, just turned 38, so yeah.
So we literally are the same generation, because when you were referencing the switch over to DSLR, I was like, that was me in university as well. Like when DSLRs came and prosumer cameras came. I digress. But like also being in this generation that I call like the auntie uncle generation.
Right.
You get to a point where you're like the 20s is so much about self-discovery, living for yourself, blah, blah, blah. But also it's like a lot of just flopping around because you're trying to figure things out. And then at a certain point, it's like really getting to a space with yourself of like, what am I really here to do? How do I make the most of this like meat suit, the soul in this meat suit, and this life I've been given? Yeah. And it's just so much more fulfilling and a fun time when you're doing things with community for community.
It's
And
a true purpose.
It's a true purpose, a purpose that's bigger than ourselves. And I love that you were able to take something that you've built skills with over time to then apply it directly into like creating this platform to share other people's stories so that they feel seen and that they can also see themselves in a way that they could not.
No,
you know?
and they can't. Nobody has that ability, and it's such a weird thing to turn it on somebody, and just how nobody thinks that their story's worth telling. Nobody, oh, you don't want to film this. Oh, you don't want to do that. And it's like, I just like, I don't care. I just want to film my experience, you know, because the conversations I have and the people I meet are important, just like you said, when we met for the first time, right? So it's like, that's me as a documentarian, is just being in scenarios of things that I want to learn about, rolling the camera and learning. Because if I'm learning, then I'm capturing those learning moments, right? And so it's like, it's easier and it's harder than narrative work, because narrative work, you have to plan all that, you know, to have those moments. And yeah, they just happen when you're documenting something, but you have to be there in the most like intimate moments with people, and they have to be okay with you. They have to like you enough to want you to be around. It's like, oh, okay, well, like, can we have this emotional interview now, or that life-changing event? Like, can we make that happen like quick? And you just have to be okay with just like living, I think, you know, or just being there. And that's when the best stuff happens. And it feels like nothing's happening. And then you put it together and you're like, that was amazing. And so yeah, you just trust the process and learn to convince people to trust you too.
So is that the main direction now with Verra Creative? Because when I was looking at what you guys have done, you know, you've been also helping a lot of local businesses and their branding and storytelling.
Yeah, well, it's just, I think that Verra Creative is, you know, we want to focus on truthful storytelling no matter what, you know, if that's a local business or a nonprofit, or, you know, hospital foundations we work with, or working on, you know, a television show that's, you know, we've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to do over the last 3 years, right? So I think as a business, like, we want to help anybody, right? Like, that's why we built this, is just like, come in, use our space, use our talent or gear, and we've got people that can help you if you need it. But I'm trying to split the two and saying, but me as Raymond, like, I want to do this, right? And they have to be split in some way or another. Like, you work on the business, you make it work for people, you be in service to people, and then I use my own like personal journey, you know, like you're selling your life to people in a lot of ways, right? Yeah. Especially when you're going away for months at a time to film something, and you're away from your family and your friends. And as a business, I want it to be easy. Like, I want people to be able to come here. I want us to be able to have a place to come. And it's tiring flying around everywhere and trying to keep up with shoots and people all the time, right? So creating the space was about creating consistency and like a better life, I think. And
like a stable foundation of
and then I could still go be crazy, right? But like, it's just, that's not going to be my life all the time, and I'm okay with that, you know.
That's great. And the diversity is also wonderful, because then the opposite of that is the mundanity of the same thing over and over and over again, right?
No, which is like a nightmare. Yeah. And like, I'm a knight, like I'm Raymond Knight. Like, I want to slay dragons. I want to go find new territory, you know, party with the locals. Like, it's just like, everyone kind of makes fun of me all the time. So everyone's like, oh, everything's pretty good. And I'm like, no, we're changing everything, you know, like, but that's just like, I don't want to stay still, you know, unless I'm on a river, then I'll stay still all day fishing.
Of all the stories that you've been able to capture, what's one that you feel deeply moved or impacted by?
So I mean, I guess there's two. I would say the first thing that I actually got me into documentary filmmaking was I was taking all these like film qualification courses, right? They were offering at North Island College here, and it was subsidized, so it was awesome. It was like a 6-week full intensive program for like $200. And then a friend of mine from Vancouver, who's a really great cinematographer, Leo, he was over here filming the final video that we're all collaborating to make, and like, I didn't know he was doing that, and so we just kicked it at a brewery afterwards and having a beer, and I was actually applying for STORYHIVE, and I was like, okay, like I've got all these ideas, like I don't know what to do, right? I really want to push myself forward. And he's like, man, he's like, you got lots of really good stories and ideas, and he's like, great scripts, but he's like, do a documentary. If you do a documentary, he's like, I guarantee you it'll be easier for you to get the funding, and it's gonna push you forward more. So I did that, and at the time my dad had just been diagnosed with stomach cancer, and I obviously was just on this journey of, as a family, of learning what that meant and all this, and then connecting with a lot of other people and realizing like a lot of people are living, or families are living with cancer in their family. And so I wanted to do this whole series about just regular people and how they deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And so I ended up focusing on this one family that I know locally, and their son was born with this rare form of cancer, the tumor. He had a tumor, like they saw it in ultrasound, right? And so, but now he's like this healthy, 10-year-old boy who's like playing sports and all this stuff, and just kind of the whole family's perspective and how they were feeling about it, but then also his perspective and how he grew up and with his like positivity, and so that was like really powerful story that I wanted to tell. And I was like, hey, this is like what I'm kind of meant to do after I did that. And then now recently I just directed like 2 or 3 episodes of this show, Yukon Harvest, that's gonna be on the APTN starting in September. And
it looks great, like seeing the trailers and things like that.
Yeah, it'll be good. And like the episodes that I was lucky enough to do were really emotional, and moments where you really had to sit there with people, going through tough situations. And I'm super proud or lucky, I think, just to be there, that people trust me to be in those situations, in the middle of nowhere, in remote communities with people who are just like not in the best situations, right? A friend of mine, he is now my friend, and he's the same age as us, and he just discovered he was from, he was Indigenous and adopted and from this remote community out in Winnipeg, right, like on the outskirts of Winnipeg. And so the whole show, or the episodes that we were working on, was focused on him finding his Indigenous heritage, right, by going and visiting where he would have grown up, right?
Wow.
And his father had just passed away, his true father, so he never got to meet him. And just like being in these places where he's like, it's just such a weird, hard juxtaposition, being like, okay, well, like I feel like I was taken from my family, my true family, who I'm now trying to connect with, but also given this amazing opportunity, to live in a place that's not, like he's like, I for sure would have been not in a good position in life, especially kind of knowing him as a person. Like he's like, I'm lucky, but I'm also like, feel like so disconnected, right? And so,
wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, and then how that relates to his family now too, right? Because they all have to go through that with him, right? As soon as he takes that on, it's like everybody has to. And so,
what do you think makes the soul of a very powerful film or documentary?
Everyone wants to say like, a climax or something big has to happen, but I think the total opposite. Like the way I like to end stuff, like I like things just to be like that's life, and I think that's the best stories, where you feel like they're relatable, right?
Where you can see yourself reflected
exactly,
back at you.
Yeah, and just see, okay, well, like this person's having the same moments that I do, or you see them grow, and so you can believe in yourself that you can grow. And I think that those moments are more powerful than anything, because like nothing ends in life. Well, I mean, it does, right? But even my life ends, and that's the middle or beginning to somebody else's story, right? So it's
totally,
we're just living in this constant evolution. And like, stories are there for you to find. Like you can't make it happen, right? Like I was just here, you just walked in, right? So it's like you just have to walk into somebody's house and be humble and enough to like sit there and be a part of it without and allow yourself to change, right? Because if, like I said, if I changed while filming or I learned something, then I can be sure that the person's going to learn it because I was capturing my process, and one person said something, I'm like, well, I didn't know that, you know, and then you're filming another piece, and because you're learning it now, and oh, well, now that person kind of filled in that other piece of the puzzle. Oh, okay, well, maybe I need to ask this person because, you know, everyone keeps talking about them, but I, you know, like, what do they have to do with it? And so you're just like, as you learn, you're building this, all these pieces. You're being curious, and curiosity, I think, is like the number one
curiosity, presence, openness, and the openness to recognize what's in front.
And to just shut up. Right? But like, it's so important just sometimes it's just like,
I know the human tendency to just keep inserting ourselves versus just like, let's just take a moment and deeply listen.
Oh, that reminds me. No, just shut up. No, just be quiet. Like, you know, and as my dad's getting pretty old. He had me like when, you know, he's in his 40s, and so he's like 80 now, right? And he's just, I'm always like, why are you so quiet? Like my mom just like right? Talk, and I'm like, Mom, just be quiet for 2 seconds. Well, he's got nothing to say, right? And then I'll just like be quiet for like 2 minutes, and then he'll be like, well, what I think is, you know, and like, but he's doing it. Like, he wants to see, like, are you gonna listen? You know, like, and if you're not going to, then, and especially when you're doing a lot of like work with First Nations and whatnot, and you know, a lot of like elders and people like they don't have time for you and your BS, you know what I mean? And like, if you're not gonna listen, they're not gonna talk, and that's just, and they shouldn't, you know what I mean? And that's like
you know, an attitude and just like, that's like lived wisdom there of just like, I'm not gonna rush this, you go on, And then for me, I've learned over time, like, I'm always curious about the most quiet people in the room. Because I'm like, you're being quiet for a reason, maybe even if you are shy, but I feel like there's something there. There's like a story there. There's like a depth there. You know, I'm more curious about those who like are the most quiet in the space.
Oh yeah. I know. Well, it's just whenever, I'm not very good in public forums, you know, like people are like, oh, hey, what do you have to say? I'm like, I can't even begin with, you know, everybody's opinions. Just, you know, there's so much to be sorted out, I feel like, in groups, that it's like it's hard to even like focus. So one-on-one is definitely my, like, this is more my vibe for sure.
Well, I do want to talk a little bit about this space.
Yeah, how much time we got left?
We've got maybe about 10 minutes, and
10 to 15.
Yeah, right. Which I think is a good segue into talking about this space and then going and seeing a little bit more of it.
Yeah.
But, you know, going through the Instagram of Verra Creative and seeing the before and the after. First of all, big ups, bravo to you, your partner, and all the hands that like painted things, hammered a thing, drilled a thing, because the space is beautiful, complete transformation.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's, you know, everyone says, oh, this is like something that'd be in Montreal or somewhere, you know, in a bigger city. We are like right on the main road. Everyone's like, oh, like, what about the street people? What about the traffic? What about, like, do you like being busy? And I'm like, yeah, I like knowing I'm in a city, right? It's bustling here. Like, people see it, they see what we're doing, and we've got a whole community in this building. Like, we share the other side. We've got our editing suites and our offices in the back, and we've got a web company that we partner with, and these guys are product designers, and they design like dive wear and all this stuff. And so it's like this little creative agency hub. Yeah, it's just been a really amazing journey. And yeah, my fiance, she's a singer, dancer, actress, and we've worked together, you know, throughout so many, you know, we worked together for years before we ever got together, and she's helped. We've actually filmed one of her first music videos in here when it was just like a trash, like there was no walls, no nothing in here. And I've got photos of like, you know, like, oh, should we film against this dingy wall or that dingy wall, right? And so yeah, there's just, it's like we're living our lives here. Sean brings his kids here. They, you know, they play their VR and do drawing and stuff up here. And
I wish this was in Van City, but You know, now I just got to come to Nanaimo.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Or
no,
do
book
something
the
here in
Hello
Nanaimo.
Ferry.
Yeah.
It's right there, right?
It's
It
right
comes.
there.
Like I could walk over and pick you up.
Oh,
or whatever.
really?
Or, well, you can walk over to it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's right there. So.
Amazing. Well, let's do a little walk.
Yeah. I think the natural light over here is one of my favorite features, and yeah, we are just collecting furniture. I think that's every studio needs a big cigar lounge couch.
Yes.
And
a few of them chairs.
yeah, I think we saw this on Facebook Marketplace. We're all sitting here, and I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be gone in 5 minutes. We better go get it."
Is this just a change room?
Yeah, we got the change room.
nice.
This giant monstera that we stole from. Well, we didn't steal it. This one, when she was basically crying, she's like, "It's my baby. Take care of it."
Give it a new life.
Yeah, and then this is our big,
cool.
yeah, our big production studio, and it's we do green screen work on here, and like I said, it's a great place to do podcasts and to do. We do projections on the back wall, and eventually I think we want to do like a big green screen project where we paint the whole thing green and just go nuts with the visual effects.
You know,
Okay.
rapid fire. That's why I do
All
this.
right.
You know? Okay. Film that made you want to get into film.
Alien, the first Alien. I watched it when I was 5 years old.
Yo, that was so rapid. I didn't even finish my question, and I didn't even have a question
I've
mark
got
at the
3
end of that.
feature films written for Alien Films, if anybody ever, for 20th Century Fox / Disney.
First camera you ever owned.
Handycam, skate, I don't know, Sony Handycam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I built a little like handle for it and bought a fisheye lens from the used store, and we filmed skate videos like all day long.
Most unforgettable location you've shot in.
Well, like a good location, like the whole thing about a good location is you just turn your camera on and it's great. Like you try to do all this stuff with lighting, you just go to a great location. But I mean, like Hawaii, like yeah, I just turn the camera on.
A film or series you can watch over and over till the end of time.
Jurassic Park.
So quick, so quick. Most challenging scene or shot you've ever captured, and why?
Well, I mean, like I love one shots. Like one shots are a lot of fun. I've done a few one-er music videos. This
Like
one,
a one take?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
one we did. So we took the song, we sped it up 2.5 times and filmed at like 60 frames a second. So the whole video was in slow motion. So it was like the whole, so we filmed it in this like really quick time, but it was like, you know, the band was like sitting on the couch in the forest, and then it turned around, there was all these like lights set up down like this whole like pathway, and then, you know, they pick stuff up as they go, light, you know, fireworks, and go down, swing on the
that's so much
swing, and end up
choreography.
at the, and meanwhile I'm on a steady cam, like, you know, going around them the entire time, and the whole song is like 2.5 times speed. So like that was pretty fun.
The artist who influenced me the most growing up is?
I would have to say this would be not anyone knows, but Ursula Medley was my oil painting teacher in Powell River, and she's a really talented landscape artist, and she just taught me so much. I remember my mom sat in the first time we did a painting lesson together, and I was painting, and she just grabbed a rag and wiped away what I had painted, and she was like, okay, well now look at what you're painting and then paint what you see. And I was like, I remember just being like, you touched my painting. But I was like, oh my God, you're so right. I was just painting what I thought I saw in my head, right? I was just filling in the pieces, and she like taught me to observe and truly observe, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, Raymond, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Appreciate the pizza, your
Yeah.
stories, your time. Even the first time that I got to come here and you showing me the space.
Yeah, of
I knew
course.
this was going to be a good interview. Where can people find you?
So we got verracreative.com. Our Instagram is verra.creative. You know, I've also got Knight Studios, which is, you know, my previous company, and, you know, we all work together. So follow on any of those pages. And yeah, if you want to come by and just check it out, just drop us a DM, and someone's usually here.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone who's been watching the live stream, everyone watching the replay after. We appreciate you. Once again, my name is Kazi, the host of this show, and you've been watching Beats, Eats, and
more.
Bye.